Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 16 of Lost in Translation Mon. I'm May.
And I'm Jay.
This week, we watched Digimon, The Great Crossing of Tokyo,
Or Almost Home Free.
and Raremon, Surprise Attack on Tokyo Bay.
Or the eighth Digivice.
I prefer the Japanese name for the second episode
Shouldn't it be like
because
Raremon? Don't they have like
I
hard
listened to
vowels?
the way they say it, and they said it quite like it flowed a bit more,
Maybe.
but it wasn't even though it would be written as Raremon, they said it like it was smoother in the show. I noticed that when I saw it.
So first we got an anonymous from Tumblr, and they said, I think Ty picked at random in both, but in the Japanese version when he says he wanted to keep Agumons, it did a better job of showing it being Ty's pretending he had logic behind it to cover that he had just guessed, and Agu sort of sees through it. Well, in the dub they play it straight and have it sound like he was serious in basing his decision on wanting Agumon's card. Um, yeah, I mean it's that comes down to voice actor decisions.
Yeah, and Koromon did sound a bit skeptical in the original. Like, it was like, really? But on the other one, he was like, oh, yeah, Ty's so great. I'm Ty's best friend, sort of
Uh,
thing.
yeah, the characters. I mean, we've gone over this. I don't know, probably 100 times at this point, despite it only being 16 episodes. But that the characters are just less complex in English because it has to be more straightforward because it's much more directed towards a child audience.
Yeah.
And subtlety is not the middle name of most children, which is both a literal true fact and also fits the metaphor intention of it. So we have another Anonymon, which we get mostly, and I'll say this now, I don't know why.
Maybe they don't have Tumblr.
Oh yeah, I
And it's
forgot
a
you
yeah,
suggested that.
it's probably their preferred way of communicating, but they don't have Tumblr.
I like to think that like half the anonymouses are like porn blogs, and they don't want their names to show up.
Well, if you think about it, like we've got With the Will and Twitter, but both of those, require an account, and Tumblr's the only one you don't really need an account. I mean, we also do have the email address, which is lostintranslationone@gmail.com, but no one's used that.
Um, I was waiting for like Super Lock Fan 2015. All right, so Anonymon, definitely not Super Lock Fan 2015. Says, I have the American DVDs, and it indeed has the line about terrorist bombings. But I also distinctly remember watching it on Toon Disney when it was on the channel here, where the line wasn't mentioned because I remember thinking of it as something new when I watched the DVDs.
I don't remember it being said terrorist bombing, and I was like surprised when I saw my DVD version of it. And I'm pretty sure Jay said that because he's was watching recordings from some TV channel, and I think he said that the terrorist bombing line wasn't mentioned.
My memory is kind of terrible. Honestly, I could just go look at it again because it's right here, but I'm not going to do that right now because double checking facts and looking at the backstories of things is in no way the backbone of this show. But yeah, you know what? Maybe I'll check it in the intervening weeks. But as it stands, I don't recall it being mentioned in English, but I definitely remember it being mentioned in Japanese.
Oh yeah,
And I mean, that makes sense for the time in which it came out. Uh, did it come out in 2001?
it came out in 2000, I think. Well, I read, I think it was on the Digimon Wikia that that line was removed in like reruns of the episode.
I guess that
But
makes sense.
the original ever airing of it happened, but any reruns that happened after September 11th, I think, removed it. But I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure it was the Digimon Wikia.
Yeah, all of that is obviously entirely possible. Um, the anime says the original run. Doesn't say when all the English stuff was done. Oh well, Wikipedia, you have failed me for the last time. Uh,
I've read it somewhere.
okay, and now we got a message from Fex Mafe on With the Will. Fex me if.
Vex Maeve.
Fex Mafe. Oh, if I butchered that, I'm sorry,
It's
but
a cute
internet
name.
names are internet names. And they said, I'm still baffled by the whole Gatomon thing. I'm listening to the show right now. Fun so far. If you need a crazy character discussion next week, how about this question? If in the last arc there was a big reveal that one of the kids was actually working for the big bad, who would be more likely, and who would be most interesting?
Well, I actually put some thought into answering this question.
As usual, I did not have an opportunity to do so, so I'm going to be answering completely out of nowhere.
Well, I like that. I like how you answer like on the spot, and I answer like in depth.
With research and expertise.
No, it wasn't really research. It was like about 5 minutes of thinking. Really, it wasn't as much as thinking as it was with the who do you think is the least needed, but it was sort of thinking. So I thought of TK being the one to be on the big bad side. There's more, I guess, reasoning to this after watching Zero Two, so I can't really go into that too much.
He's
But
just, he's evil?
no, didn't
Okay.
say that. But yeah, so I was thinking TK or like for something that's completely wacky, maybe like Joe or Meme. I mean, anyone could be, really good turning around villain, but TK I think would probably make sense after Zero Two, maybe
So,
after stuff that happens.
though you've mentioned almost every character, my knee-jerk reaction to this is actually Matt.
Well, that would yeah. Well, he's the lone wolf guy.
So, he's Digimon's a wolf. Um, so,
That's the point.
uh, there are actually a number of reasons I figured this one out, in the 6 seconds I've had to think about it. So, Matt's the most reserved, but also he has had direct conflict with the recognized leader of the group. So, the reason you have conflict with the leader of the group is often because you don't believe that they're particularly good. They don't make good decisions. So, I could see, like halfway through the series, that he would have gone, well, we are inevitably losing. So I'm going to go join up with the bad guy, and I'm going to make a deal with him that TK isn't harmed. So he would have a motivation beyond just being evil, because everyone else's motivation would just reasonably be evil. Like Mimi's motivation would be the same as her being a princess, probably. Sora couldn't possibly have a motivation because I don't know. There's flaws of her character have not really come up particularly. She'd have to be in further conflict with everybody. It would be impossible for Ty because he's the leader. Um, Izzy because he's too much of a huge nerd. I think TK's too young to have. The only way that that TK would have what's the exact wording here? Actually working for the big bad.
Being
Like
under control.
yeah, if he was like making a mistake, or if he'd been like threatened in some way, and I don't think it would be the most interesting. Uh, but I think Matt would have the most complex and interesting reason to be working for a bad guy, and also just be the most likely to, because he seems to have the least. Um, I'm doing it like a hand motion, which doesn't translate on radio, but like he meshes least with the group, like by a long, long way.
So, do you like the conflict that Taichi and Yamato have?
It's not really, you know what? It's not as big as I thought it was. For whatever reason, and I've mentioned this before, but like I did see this show slightly when I was a kid, and I've forgotten pretty much everything. But the sense I got was that they had a huge conflict, and so far we really had like the one episode on the ice where they punched each other. But other than that, they've been fairly like in line, which is weird. I thought there was a lot more. Oh, and there was the whole subplot that they pretty much abandoned of you're a better brother to TK than I am. And I
For memory, that sort of thing comes back, but with Hikari.
no, sorry, you're a better half brother to TK than I am.
Yeah, well, I think they've sort of forgotten about the half brother line now, and they've actually canonically said, "Oh, yeah, divorced parents." I think we see that more even when we meet their parents.
Uh, okay, so they continue. Oh, and I really hope you guys do watch Summer Wars. I can't wait to hear what Jay thinks of the differences and similarities. There's one thing that I must add already, and I probably will say again when you do watch it, because I find it so interesting in a fridge way. Oh, fridge logic, yeah. Yeah. When the main character receives her special ribbon thing from the whale. Okay, this is way over my head.
This is about Summer Wars,
I
which is a
got
really
that,
good
but
movie.
there's a special ribbon thing from Whale Protectors of Oz. So it's already completely lost me. But all right, you could see that as an RPG item with stats on it, and what stat is often part of the RPG system? Luck. So it makes sense that having the ribbon could help her defeat the bad guy. I just watched the episodes you guys are reviewing next. They're so cute, and so filled with nice OST. What's OST? It's original soundtrack,
Original
right?
soundtrack.
Especially the second one. I'm just afraid the cuteness won't. Afraid the cuteness won't phase Jay. I'm not really sure what that means.
You won't phase you, as in it won't. You won't like it, or you won't really
But he's
notice it.
afraid that it won't phase me.
Yeah.
Anyway, and before he says it's silly that Koushiro doesn't wake up the other kids, I would want him to be reminded that it was just pointed out that he's polite to a fault, somewhat related to. We'll get there, but I didn't think Koushiro was awake. Was he awake?
Yes. The whole episode's about him.
On the train. That's the first episode.
He's talking about the second episode,
Oh.
especially the second one, and
Oh.
then yeah.
Okay. I honestly didn't even think about that. I just thought he had his own stuff going on.
He was really polite, and he was
Because
like, "Oh no, don't
he
wake
has
them. I'm
a
fine."
he has a line. It's like I'll talk to them in the morning. Um, because I guess he didn't think it was super urgent. This is from definitely Jeff on With the Will. That's definitely Jeff is
Prodigious, one of the
nice.
cool prodigious peoples.
So
I've spoken to them.
yeah, you were on a show with them.
Yeah, and they
So
mentioned me in the last episode. It made me really happy.
So definitely Jeff on With the Will says, in regards to Japanese terrorist attacks, I don't know enough context to know if the framing of Paramon vs. Greymon as a terrorist attack was obviously influenced by this, but when Jay said, as I said, was the 90s in Japan a really politically raucous time that had terrorist bombings, the subway sarin incident was the first thing that came to mind. From skimming that Wikipedia, I think it was a pretty huge deal. And he quotes, it is the most serious attack to occur in Japan since the end of World War II. And I have actually heard of the Tokyo subway sarin attack, which people put sarin gas into the Tokyo subway, um, which it's really weird actually. And I think this actually it doesn't. What's the word I'm looking for? It doesn't actually back up anything about terrorist bombings because a sarin gas attack is just a gas attack, and isn't really in line with blowing up a whole street, as would have happened from the Digimon fighting each other. So while I agree it's related in that terrorist attacks in general did exist in Tokyo, it's their most serious attack of all time did not include bombings. So the fact that it was something that was brought up and that the kids didn't really say was particularly special still surprises me. Also, definitely Jeff adds at the end, I only know about it because of Maoru Penguin Drum. Never heard of that. Now I'm curious, have either of you seen it? I think it's amazing, but pretty divisive. I'll say again, I've never heard of it.
I've never heard of it, but I'll look it up and I'll give it a go.
What is
Oh wow, it
Mawaru?
looks really cool.
Wait,
Yeah, I'll give that a go.
is this? I have no idea what this is.
That
There's
looks really good.
there's a Pengu and magical girls and fan service,
Yeah, I saw Magical Girls and fan service, and I was immediately on board.
and then there's penguins with underwear on their head.
Sounds like my type of show. If it sounds good, I think I might watch that if
Those
I can
penguins
find.
about to murder an octopus.
That sounds amazing.
It's actually really adorable, but also kind of frightening. I'm going to show you this.
Oh, that's so cute.
Also
Oh,
terrifying.
I'm definitely gonna give that a watch. I think it looks really good. Also on With the Will, we had a discussion regarding what I said in the last episode about Cody in the Spanish dub. I was wrong. I don't know where I got Laurie from, but he in the Spanish dub was referred to as a female. I had a discussion with Metal Marmemon, Crazy Aristocracy, Sugar Plum Fairy, and also on Twitter, I was also talking with Ish TL Show Cheat, if I said that correctly, and the Euro Spanish dub was presented as female and used female pronouns. Now remember, but and then there's something that spoilers, which I'm not going to say. But there is a point where later on you see him not as a kid, and he's quite feminine. Like his looks mid masculine girl or a feminine guy. But
Which
yeah, so
character is this? Sorry.
oh, it's a character from season 2. I'll
Oh, fantastic.
yeah, we spoke in the last episode about Gatomon being confused as a boy, and then we have this character who in the Spanish dub was a girl.
Cody Hida. Yeah, okay, I can see where the mistake
Yeah.
could be made.
Uh,
Especially in the real world one where they're wearing like purple.
yeah.
In the digital world, they wear this weird lab coat. Who wears that?
Also, each TL show sheet says that on GATOMON, in Spanish, the generic gender is male, so there can be 100 females. If there's one male, the plural becomes male.
It's
That
true.
makes sense. And
Although, in a plural sense, it would be GATOSMON, which would be different.
also on With the Will, we have Ten Benias, who says in regards to the Mimi gives Joe seeds thing in Poddigis episode 6, they discussed and concluded that it was a pun on the Japanese word for love, which is aijo, which is apparently also the name of a certain Japanese plant. I don't have a source outside of their discussion to back that up, but that was the conclusion they came to. Besides that, love the show, guys. Keep up the awesome work. Thank you. But yeah, that makes sense, like as a sort of pun, and I will accept that.
Haven't you listened to every episode of Poddigis?
Yeah, but it was a while ago,
Okay.
and at one point I listened to a lot of them at once, so I kind of forgot. But yeah, that was now having read that, I now remember.
Well, we appreciate the information, everybody, because our fact checking policy is don't.
Well, I fact check if I have time to.
So, okay, my fact checking policy is don't.
We have a suggestion for I will show you DigiWorld, and it was a request from Wu Qinglong to show you Gundramon live on the show. So here you are. Here is a picture of Gundramon, and I want you to react to it.
Okay, so I'm gonna quote uh as an old Simpsons joke, which I really appreciate, and I'm really hoping it's that basically. So Nelson is drawing something, and Lisa, dressed as a boy, asks him, what are you drawing?" And he goes, "Oh, I believe it's a gun made out of guns shooting a robot made out of guns. What's it shooting? Guns." All right, all right. So this is a gun dragon at a guess. Oh, oh God, it's exactly what I was describing. There it is. There's the robot made of guns.
It's amazing.
Uh, well, congratulations, you found my favorite Digimon.
Is that the Digimon that you would have?
That's my favorite. No, I wouldn't want it.
Are you sure? He looks pretty strong.
No, look,
Dude, he's an ultimate level.
it's my favorite that exists, but I don't think Mecha Godzilla is the way I would go.
Well, there is another.
Okay, you keep sending me links. Are they all the same picture?
They might have more information.
Okay, Gundramon is a dragon Digimon whose name derives from Gundramon. That's everything on a Digimon wiki.
Yeah. Well, the Digimon Wiki. I think Wikimon probably might have more in-depth information.
It's not loading.
Yeah, Wikimon's not loading for me either. Maybe it's down.
Maybe it's dead forever.
No. Anyway, so if you want to send us any messages or any suggestions for I Will Show You DigiWorld, you can email us at lostintranslation1@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook. We have a discussion thread on With the Will. You can comment or message us on SoundCloud, and we would really appreciate if you reviewed us on iTunes or Stitcher.
And if you have more quality content like Gundragonmon, I'm in.
So the start of episode 30 starts with us seeing a bunch of Myotismon's henchmen, and we see that they're really looking for this kid. They've all got crests. They all look fairly evil.
Yeah, there's a lot of them, and we will not be discussing their designs until we get. I believe the policy is they need to have a
And Digimon Analyzer.
yeah, like a pullback, and have Ladybugmon say, "That's a Doobadoo-mon." They show this dude, this clearly Digimon at, I guess, a fair of some kind, and he's doing balloons for these kids. And he does it, and I'm like, "Hey, look, a wizard. Is it called Wizardmon?" I'm pretty sure. And so I asked May just before the show, and you deflected a lot, but I feel like that's the name. Is the wizard just Wizardmon?
It may be called Wizarmon.
Oh, it's the same thing. Um,
Anyway, but we don't meet him yet, so we only meet other characters who are
so
less interesting.
yeah, you get to see, so I believe this episode begins, unless it could be the next one, because I've got a discussion here of how the eighth child is super obvious. Actually, no, it's definitely the next episode. The next episode where Ty just totally figures it out right at the beginning.
Yeah, and he's like, nah.
So I feel like the eighth child is super obvious when all the kids are standing around, because the thought process should be this: like every kid there is an only child except for Matt and TK, who are siblings,
And
right?
Ty.
And Ty, well, yeah, except the only other one with a sibling might
Well,
be.
Mimi has a mentioned
I was about to say,
younger brother in
except also Mimi's younger brother would probably be the ninth chosen child by that logic.
the invisible ninth chosen child.
She only exists in English, so he
Yeah,
only exists in English.
I still can't believe. I'm somewhat surprised they didn't follow it up saying, "Oh, my baby brother's like on holidays at the moment by himself."
He's away forever at boarding school.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't pull that actually
So the
to keep the
kids,
continuity.
so the kids go on and go to the train station
And Mimi is just talking about food the whole time.
because they're hungry.
Well, in the dub, she's talking about the whole time. I think she's more focused on finding the eighth child in the Japanese. Like she's saying, "Oh, I wonder where the eighth child is. I want she's contributing to the discussion about the eighth child." The English version is saying, "I could really go for hamburgers, and I don't even eat hamburgers."
Hey, look, here's the thing. You need somebody to whine constantly, right?
But
And
you
if
could not.
anyone's gonna whine constantly, it's going to be the girl who dresses in pink.
Yeah, a joke whines a bit, but in the English version mainly.
But Joe is always given a good reason. In fact, especially in English.
Yeah,
That like it's one of the weirdest changes, but we'll get there. So, uh, you know what I write every time I refer to the Digimon? They're just
the Digimon.
the Digmons.
Yeah,
I keep reading it, being like, when did I? Anyway, so the Digmons are told to act like stuffed animals. At which point, I feel like the Digmons should all have been like, "What's a stuffed animal?"
I think they
Because
must have spoken to them about them before.
maybe, but the thing is that if you were to describe a stuffed animal to them, they would just think of what's his name? The teddy bear mon. What's his name?
Monzemon
Monzemon.
or
Uh,
Teddymon?
yeah. So because their experience with stuffed animals is that they move and talk.
Well, we did have in the episode where they just came back to the real world is they said, "Oh, these are stuffed toys." So I'm assuming that they would have learnt from that situation where they said, "Oh, these are just some stuffed toys we found that we're going to give to Hikari."
Yeah, but those are lies where they use words that the Digmons wouldn't know.
But I'm sure that would have been explained.
Maybe,
Also,
possibly.
that they were there for probably like 6 months,
Yeah, but
maybe more. So they might have been able to talk about it at some point.
none of them talked about that they used to all live in the same place.
Maybe they didn't think it was relevant, or maybe Izzy was only there for a few months. So,
And like
anyway,
TK never said, "Hey, I've seen monsters like this before."
well, he thought it was imaginary.
But when he sees Greymon again, he should be like, "That's familiar."
Yeah, but he probably like tried to push it out of his mind because his mum yelled at him for it.
Yeah, but Matt remembered.
Did he
Matt's
though?
yeah,
He
he
didn't
was
remember until TK. Like TK was the first one to say, "That's right, I saw monsters," and then everyone remembered.
no, no. When they were kids, TK was like, "Hey, mom, parents, I saw monsters," and Matt's like, "So did I." Then they yelled at TK. He's like, "Well, I'm not gonna say anything."
Yeah, so Matt maybe forgot or just didn't pay attention. Like it was a long time ago. Anyway, so when they say that they're going to be stuffed animals, in the original, Pyokomon is being clingy again and going, Sora, Sora, Sora. And Sora is annoyed about this because she's still not, that really cuddly, clingy person.
Also, she's like, "Shut up! You're meant to be a stuffed toy."
No, that's in the dub because Yokomon says, "Oh, can I be a squeeze toy that you've told me about that goes wah 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 wah?" And then Sora yells at her and says, "Be a doll that doesn't talk."
Shut up!
And then Koromon and Sunamon try to attack the train.
And then the two babies are murdered by a train. Like, there's no excuse for how they got out of there, right? They're on the tracks, the train rolls over them, and then the train goes past, and they're just magically in the air where the train was. They're dead.
It was in the script.
Like, they're ghosts that floated up through the train. Their actual bodies are splattered on the front of the train.
To be fair, I think they've been through stronger things than that, than just a train.
Getting hit by a train.
Yeah,
Just as little babies? No, never.
like I'm pretty sure like Koromon was hit in the face by I can't remember, but he was hit in the face at one point.
Like, Kuwagamon was around once,
Yeah,
but, like,
pretty sure Kuwagamon is stronger than a train.
no, not really.
Scarier.
Okay, Kuwagamon's probably a couple 100 kilos and it flies, right? So it's
Yeah,
going okay, but a train is like 30 tons.
yeah, but imagine how fast a Kuwagamon would be going. It's also the speed.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the velocity of a train is bigger, especially because you'd also get crushed under it,
Yeah, but
whereas
it's also
Kuwagamon
the
would just knock you out of the way.
yeah, but I think Kuwagamon would be still be he'd still pack quite a punch.
Hey, look, let's just look at the fatalities that the two different things are called. How many people has Kuwagamon killed? The answer is clearly zero.
Well, that's because he hasn't
No
been in the real world.
Kuwagamon in the history of history
He brought
has
down a
ever.
plane one time.
That would actually probably kill a lot of people.
We haven't seen it yet, though.
Well, how would I know?
I don't know.
All right. So then they're on the train, and just after the two babies were murdered by a train, there's a baby that I want to murder.
There's an ugly, ugly, ugly baby that pulls on Pyokomon's hair. Well,
Plant.
plant.
It's just crying a lot, and then it starts tugging on. You know what? Even if Pokemon was a toy, right? Where does this baby get off trying to destroy someone else's
Well, it's just a
stuff?
baby.
The mom should have been like, "Stop that!" But after she said it once, she was like, "Well, I can't control this 1-year-old."
I think the mum was better in Japanese. Like in the English one, she seemed like less strict. She's like, "Oh, honey, don't do that." But in the Japanese one, she's like, "Oh, no, no, don't do that, don't do that." Like she seemed to care more. But the English one, she was like, "Oh, honey, oh, that's the girl's toy." No,
Have you considered not? Oh, well, I guess I can't stop you.
it was
You
the
are
most
much bigger than me.
like it was this passive sort of, "Oh, honey, oh no, don't do that, honey, honey, honey." Like no, you need to be forceful with your child.
You can't discipline your kids, especially not in a show about kids.
But yeah, so Pyokomon yells at the child, and then Sora says, "Oh no, that's just a dummy. I was being a ventriloquist." And then everyone wants the toy, so they go to Narima. They send the whole carriage off to the Narima department store,
Yeah, that
which is
kid
pretty
who
much
wanted
called the same thing.
who
They
wanted
they keep the name
Pokemon.
Narima.
The kid who wanted Pokemon was even worse. I couldn't believe how much worse he was. And especially in English. In English, he was garbage.
Oh, the little boy.
Yeah, that's why they
Oh
went to the
yeah,
department store.
yeah.
So
And he was
he
like,
was like, "I want one of those. I want it right now. If
or
I
I'll
don't get one
scream.
right
Yeah,
now, I'll scream."
yeah. But in the Japanese version, it was more like him saying, "Dad, can I have that? Can I please have that?" But he wasn't like throwing a full blown tanty. He was just saying really loudly, "Hey, I want that cool doll," which is slightly more
But it
reasonable.
was bringing attention to it. So the swerve was that because Pokemon breaks character, right?
Yeah, she's not a plush toy.
She's like, "Stop pulling on me." So Sora has to think quickly and like do a whole ventriloquist thing.
Yeah.
Um, and uh, I think it's really weird that like, so the dad asks her where'd she get it, and so she goes and then she eventually just blurts out whatever department store in the
Narima.
station they just get to. She just did the whole ventriloquist thing, so we've just established she's creative. I think the obvious answer is just say it's like custom, and she made it, and you can't buy them because it's unique. Like, I mean,
I would have just said my mum bought it for me.
I know she's 10, but she's also really stupid. Or you know what would have also worked? Just use the lie you already used. We found them in the woods.
Yeah, that works. I would have just said, "Oh yeah, I can't remember because my mum gave it to me." But I guess the we found them in the woods works too.
Yeah, so everyone piles out of the train. I don't know what everyone does. Just every single person
They
walk.
all want that Digimon.
That's crazy. Just get a pot plant. It's basically the same thing. Just paint a face on it. So all the kids fall asleep because
No, you're missing the best line ever in
am I?
English. well, second best line in this episode, which is, "If we don't find the eighth child, we could go into the toy business. Thanks, Joe."
Hey, it's pragmatic. Um, so I don't know how long the train ride is meant to be, and it was almost framed like it was something evil happening to them, but it wasn't. It was just all the kids sat down and they fell asleep for like no reason.
They probably haven't had like a full night's sleep for a while. They've always had someone on guard.
True,
That's
but
just what I'm
you'd think
assuming.
habitually at least they'd go, so who's staying awake while we all sleep? And I don't know how long, like how far the train would have to go, but we've established that Heightened View Terrace is within basically the Tokyo area, right?
Yep.
So, and they're just going to another Tokyo area on like one of the best train systems ever. They're probably not going to be asleep for even like 10 minutes. I can't believe they all fell asleep.
I do not know. When I was in Japan, I was on like some train rides that took quite a while. Like I think,
Were they all within Tokyo? Within the one city?
yes,
Okay,
you can still be on for quite a while. It's not a small city.
that's true.
You know how Melbourne has like four trams, like train stops? No, it has tons.
Okay, take your word for it.
Also, they're all on time. It's fantastic.
Except when they're not.
No, they're no.
No, but then they give you the note to give to your employer that was like, oh,
Yeah,
the train was late by a minute.
that's really rare. That's why they have to give you a note because if you say, "Oh, my train was late," they'll say you're lying. That's why they have to give you a note.
All right. I can't believe they can set up like a system like that and it doesn't get used everywhere. That's that's really unfair. Like, come on. I'm sitting here waiting for a train 30 minutes later.
Yeah, in Melbourne.
Uh, but we're not here to discuss the public transport systems of various cities, except that these kids are randomly falling asleep. The Digimon obey the orders not to talk only now, even when it's detrimental to everyone.
Well, Patamon almost wakes them, but then Palmon is actually at fault because she says, "Shh, we're not meant to talk."
They're at the station they want to be, and I thought it was really interesting. In English, because the station has got some weird name.
Yep.
Uh, it's wait.
Nakana Sokoi or something? Sakai or something?
Oh yeah, it's got a two thing like Nikana, yeah, Saguai or something like that.
Yeah,
And
they shorten it.
and in fact in English they're talking they're looking at a map and being like, all right, so we're going to like Shinbashi and blah blah blah, and doing all this.
Shinjuku and Ginza.
Yeah, yeah. So it's really weird. They're using all these Japanese names, and at this point I'm like, why did you bother with Heightened View Terrace at all?
Because Shinjuku is quite easy to say, same with Ginza, but Hikari ga Oka might be a bit too difficult.
Well, then you just okay. I guess the reason is because you can't shorten it down like Nakani or whatever the train station they were going to was. Because if you shortened it down, it would just be Hikari. Um, so they eventually wake up in Shinjuku, and what happens? Okay, so we see Joe and Koshiro talking, and they're just discussing random stuff and about whether or not their digivices work, etc. And when Koshiro shakes his digivice, it makes like a clicking noise, which implies that they have a pedometer, I think.
I didn't catch that.
They just have this clicking noise when you shake them, which is really weird. Um, and yeah, and then eventually Joe realizes uh, that everyone's just like ditched them.
And there's a woman handing out, I'm not sure if there's snacks or tissues, but
Probably tissues, knowing Japan.
yeah. So Gomon grabs it, and in the original he just says, "It's a toy, it's a toy." But in the dub he says, "Bad dog," which they're both pretty bad excuses.
um, and he's a terrible liar. I've just written that down. Uh, because he's been told like, oh, it's a toy. He's like, oh, no, it's a toy. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Uh, so it occurs to me that it's really, really unfair that the kids just left the nerds behind to get food. Like, cause you see them in a window, and they didn't go to find a food place and then come back. They just left them.
Yeah, that they just went off. Well, you saw that they stopped and they started talking, and Koshiro and Joe were so far ahead that they didn't stop too.
Yeah, but they didn't care at all. And like they went to sit down, they didn't look around and be like, "Oh, they're missing. We should get them." They're just like, "Well, let's eat now." So Joe and Koushiro find them after spotting some of Vampiremon's like dudes in the distance. And Mimi seems all too happy to be like, "We used all our money on food."
Yeah, which is fair enough. They're probably starving.
But here in English, it is so much
Oh
worse
yeah, they're mean to
because
Joe.
no, because the implication in Japanese is Jojo's, "Did you use all your travel money on food?" They go, "Yeah, we used all of it." And he turns around and goes, "I'm gonna use all my money on food now too. I'm so hungry." Blah blah blah. And he storms off. Okay, that's fine. He's gonna give in. He's really hungry. I get
Yeah,
that. English is, "You had all our money. What happens? We used all of it on food."
and we
So
didn't get you anything.
they didn't get him anything. He doesn't have any food, any money. So when he storms off, he's just angry. They're so awful. These kids are so mean.
But like that sort of begs the question in the dub, why who had the money and why wasn't it Joe? Because if I was in a big group and we were having one person have everyone's money, I would give it to Joe.
Since he has the crest of reliability.
Yeah, then he'd probably be not likely to spend it on food for himself. But
Uh, than he does anyway in Japanese. Uh, but yeah, they're like, "Yeah, we used it all on food." Yeah, and he's like, "Are you what? Are you serious? Is there any for me?" "No, it's all gone." Um, and finally, well, not finally, they go eat, except for Joe in English. Uh,
and I guess Izzy as well, because
yeah,
the implication is that Izzy also didn't get food in the English version.
but he wouldn't have any animation like that because he would actually just get food in the Japanese one. Um,
But we
so
also find that the Digivice may only work like a very short distance in the real world, which kind of makes sense. It's because if it relies on things being digital.
if it relied on being in a digital setting, then it wouldn't work in the real world at all. It should only work in anywhere you have a Wi-Fi signal.
Yeah, I think it's more of the signal stronger in the digital world because everything's digital, so it can follow along like digital things. But in the real world, it's really quite short distance because it can only have its own range.
I'm really hoping that there's a bit where they're like, "We gotta find him," and he just puts like it up to a telephone pole. It's like, all right, that'll increase the signal.
Has like a maximizer or something, or a wireless extender.
So Tai comes up with a quote unquote foolproof plan to get themselves to wherever they need to go. And his foolproof plan to get there with no money is to hitchhike in the middle of Tokyo.
Yep,
So he stands around just putting his thumb out, nobody's stopping, people are beeping at him, etc.
and he
And
starts calling out loudly.
and they go through like basically the every kid's plan to call someone down.
And
I
the order
believe
changes in the English
yeah,
version.
in Japanese, I believe next is Joe and Koushiro,
Yep.
and they wave their arms around wildly,
No, no.
and
First, they just hitchhike normally, and they realize that that doesn't work. So then they go to flailing around, because their point was that when Taichi was flailing around, he was like saying, "Oh, people are going to think you're crazy if you do that." So they try and do it normally, and then they realize that the best way to get people is to wave around crazily.
right. So they wave around crazily, and a taxi stops. And well, we know they don't have any money, so there's a funny exchange where they're like, "Oh man, well that didn't work. Calling down a car just brings taxis, and we can't afford those." So that leaves. In English, and they changed the order of this, but in English, when they're waving around their arms wildly, they're specifically calling for a taxi,
Yep,
which makes no sense because they know they can't pay for it. They're like, "Hey, taxi!" Taxi shows up. "Do you have any money?" "No." "Okay, bye." So there's no punchline. There's no punchline of like, "Oh, you're doing it wrong. You've called a taxi by accident." They're just stupid. They just made a huge mistake.
and then we have Matt's, which is Yamato's,
Matt's
which is my
changes
favorite.
the most. So Matt slowly puts his thumb up, and instantly a car shows up, and it's like red convertible with what appears to be a 30-year-old sexual predator driving.
Yeah, and it
It,
says, "Come here, little boy."
and he's 10. Like they're all 10, and so it's weird that they're hitchhiking, but this one is really weird. And so he gets like embarrassed, and he's like, "Well, we couldn't have all fit in the car."
Yep,
In English, they changed this to he never even puts his hand up because he's too nervous,
yep.
which is fine. You know what? I understand.
I absolutely love what he yells in the English version.
Well, at least my cat's not stuck in a tree.
because that was what Ty was saying in the inspiration. He was like, "Help, help, help, help! My cat's stuck in a tree, and I don't know where. And I need to get him. It's in Odaiba." And then this was his. So Yamato was blushing and said, "At least my cat's not stuck in a tree."
And then we have the last one, which also changed really, really significantly, which is Mimi and Sora. They made a sign, apparently, and they try to call some people down. And so it really concerns me when two 10-year-old girls are trying to hitchhike and a van stops. And there's this blonde dude bro driving the van with this really, really creepy smile. And everyone gets into the car and he's like, "Hey, all you boys back there, you're all baggage. I'm just driving these cute girls." And
And
he's giving them candy.
and the creepiest part is he's listening to the Digimon soundtrack in the Japanese version.
I agree.
The
That
first song
makes
he
it quite
listens to is
creepy.
just I think the first song he listens to is just some background music. I couldn't quite remember, but the second one is Edamon's theme.
The second one is, "Hey Digimon, hey Digimon."
No, it's just Edamon's
And the
theme.
kids are like, "What is this?"
But I'm surprised none of the kids recognized that it was Love Serenade because
Um,
that's just what Edamon was playing whenever he came up. So wouldn't they say this is creepy? That sounds exactly like Edamon's song.
and he's like, "Oh yeah, Edamon Summer, the new rock star on the scene."
Yeah, when he went through that portal, he too entered the real world.
And because he looks so much like just like a man dressed as a monkey, he could totally fit in and just be
Yeah,
Elvis.
yeah, basically.
So, um, so they're in the car, and he's got the creepiest smile ever. And this must be a cultural thing, but Mimi calls him Onisan, which I believe means brother.
Yeah, it's a cultural thing. Like you can call an older person Oni-san. Like friends can do it sometimes.
So I guess that's weird. And it's interesting that they. So the difference in English is huge. First of all, like they don't stand out on the street to hitchhike. They basically we'll try now, and then immediately the van shows up without them doing anything.
Yep.
And Sora goes, "Hey, it's my cousin." And they have a little joke about how likely it is that your cousin just showed up at random right now with a van. Uh, so it's kind of weird that when they were looking at the translation and they go, "Well, Mimi just called this guy a brother, so it's Sora's cousin."
Well, why don't we just make this Mimi's younger brother?
Well, older brother.
Younger brother. Because she doesn't have an older brother. She has a younger brother.
That's true. Well, she could have both. Um, so yeah, it's just really odd, and it's a fairly large change. Which is, you know what though? It's I prefer it. I prefer the stupid timing to like potential sexual predators picking up these 10-year-old kids.
And also, Koromon and Taichi talk about, oh, is this how it works? Girls are better at this than boys.
That's
And
really
then
gross.
and Koromon's like, yeah. So that's how it works. So he's learning.
So they're driving down whatever Tokyo streets, and in the distance you see Wizardmon with like children that he's clearly just kidnapped, just trailing behind him in his balloons. Where are they going? He's walking down the street. They don't have any parents around. He's just kidnapped them. Straight
Well,
up.
he looks fun. Maybe they just trust him because they think he's a wacky cartoon character.
We've seen Digimon with mind control attacks, so I don't trust that. I think it's evil.
Just because it's a Digimon doesn't mean it's evil, Jay.
No, it's because it works for Vampiremon that it's evil.
Good point.
Um, so they're going down the street and they get to this bridge, and Koromon poops in Ty's lap because he's sitting on Ty's lap, and then when they stand up, the poop is on the seat. He poops through Ty.
Yep.
It's magic. It is a magic poop. It is a good poop.
It has become a good poop.
Uh, and so the blonde dude bro escalates immediately to violence against these 10-year-olds,
Yep, and blames Joe, the one who probably hasn't said a word.
and also wasn't in that row of seats, I don't
Yep.
think.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it would have made more sense to, attack Taichi.
Yeah, it would have made a lot of sense since he was sitting there, but no, that would have actually made too much sense.
So
So he
then
just
Koshiro,
starts throwing them around, and he throws Koshiro off a bridge.
Yeah, because Koushiro comes in and say, "Hey, you can't do that," and tries to, back Joe up, but then he pushes Koushiro off a bridge.
Because if you have three 10-year-olds fighting together, they have the power of one 30-year-old.
So then Motimon evolves to rescue Izzy,
And then a giant squid shows up.
which is called Gesomon, which I
Sh-
think means the legs of squids
I,
in Japanese or something.
I wish it was called Bloopermon.
Why?
Because bloopers, the squids from Mario.
Oh yeah, that
Blooper,
would have
what are
been.
you doing? There's no water here, Blooper.
I mean, I do. I guess I do kind of look at the squids that do the squid thing. Well, it is a squid.
They make the same noises as the squids from Mario too. It has like this weird like sound it makes. It's very similar. Um, and so yeah, like Yukakumon fights it, and the Japanese reaction is hilarious. Like everyone's looking at the monsters fighting, being like, "Man, those are really convincing. Is this like an advertisement for something?"
And the girls that are like talking about their boyfriends in the restaurant think it's really cute. Like, oh wow, they're so cute. They're so cute. I guess the Kalkamon is,
Yeah, the
but
giant squid with no eye, with like blackness where it would have eyes, and like giant teeth and metal bits. Like not so much.
fun fact: I believe that Gesamon's actually an alternate evolution of Gomamon,
I
which I
guess,
guess they have the same sort of purple markings.
but I don't think the show has embraces alternate evolutions as a thing that happens. Like I guess they do with the if you evolve wrong,
Yeah,
but
like we have Skull Greymon. That's an alternate evolution.
but since they evolve up and down all the time, like you'd think that he'd sometimes be a Kakamon, sometimes be Gesamon. There appears to be like a business meeting at one point where like an employee walks up to either a coworker or his boss or something and just at a bench, and it looks at the monsters like, huh, and just
I
takes
think
like a
he's
long
drunk.
drink.
I think that was the thing. He was like saying, "Oh, I'm so done," like because he's drunk after work, and he thinks that he's seeing this because he's drunk. Like that's what I took from it, at least in the
That's
Japanese version.
that's what drunkenness does to you. It makes you see giant monsters fight.
Yeah, but for the most part, I think they think it's just filming like a kaiju movie or a commercial or something.
Yeah. Although I figured that it was really lucky it was contained because like when they start smashing and killing everybody, that seems like it might not work out.
Yeah.
Um, and then the fight ends, and the blonde dude bro looks around for the kids, and they're gone because at some point they've rigged up like a log raft to Ikakumon, and he's just swimming now.
And that's not, conspicuous or anything. Like it's not like we're trying to make sure the people don't see the Digimon or anything. I guess they just stopped caring.
Yeah, so like A, it's not subtle, and B, when did they have time to set that up? It requires several large pieces of wood, a long bit of rope, and the skill to tie it all together within the space of I guess 30 the space of 30 seconds because you couldn't do it during the fight.
Well, we see that some time might have passed after it because suddenly it's like the sun's setting, I think.
Yeah, but the sunsets actually fairly quickly. A sunset itself only takes a few minutes. So the time take transpiring I think is just them is the beginning of it swimming. Um and yeah, so because they're not subtle anymore, they get spotted. They get spotted by a devil ball. And honestly, I thought they would get spotted earlier when you saw the Wizardmon kidnapping all those children because it was so close. I thought he would turn and like see them in the car, but he didn't. So obviously, even having dudes around wasn't enough to catch them. But now that they stopped caring about subtlety, instantly get caught. Also, it occurs to me that like this episode could have just been called "The Kids Miss a Train,"
well,
or no, well, they miss a train station,
yeah, they missed the station.
or "The Kids Fall Asleep."
Well, it is the crossing of Tokyo because they are crossing Tokyo.
Yeah. Um. All right. So that episode has a lot of changes in it.
Yeah. Well, I guess they didn't want to talk about all the kids being like trying to be picked up by old people. Like, I guess that would be a bit dodgy.
Hey, little boy.
So, what did you think of this episode as someone who's new to Digimon?
So this episode is absolute filler. Like, and you can tell because nothing is actually achieved. In fact, a problem is created only to be solved within the one episode, which is, oh no, we missed our train station. Well, we got to get back. So they just travel. and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Uh, it's entertaining, and I've said it before. I really like the weird Digimon interaction with the real world. Like, okay, you gotta pretend to be toys. Oh, what's a train? We gotta fight the train. Uh,
Yep.
but at the same time, I'm not sure I'm happy seeing the characters be the worst people ever.
It's not boring filler though.
No, it's not.
It's interesting filler. It's not like, oh,
It's not
this is
like
boring.
the first 5 episodes of the series where
Yeah.
nothing
So,
happens.
well, I mean, things do happen, but it's like,
Yeah, nothing advances the plot, is what I'm
yeah,
saying, but at least the things that don't advance the plot are entertaining for the most part.
yeah. It's like, it's not like, wow, this episode is just so boring. I like this episode. I enjoyed this episode, and that's what I want when I sit down to watch my Digimans.
Yeah.
And I had a few I smiled at a few things. Like the hitchhiking part was pretty funny. It was cute. Like I like Ikakumon. Ikakumon looks really fluffy. I liked seeing the people react to the Digimon, like to sort of see them fight, and they all just said, "Oh, I guess it's just a monster attack, no biggie."
It only works in Japan.
And like I thought this was the episode where the line is said of what's going on. Oh, it's just Japan. Oh, okay. But I guess I'm wrong because I was expecting that to be in a line, but it wasn't, and I was like,
That was
oh,
similar, but it wasn't exactly that
yeah.
yet.
It was basically, oh, this is just a commercial. They do this all the time. But I was sure that this episode was the one would say, oh, it's just Japan. Don't worry, no biggie.
Okay. Uh, anything
So
else?
we've spoken about the differences, but do you have any differences that really stood out to you, and do you think that any were not required at all, just irrelevant differences?
I mean, the big one, obviously, is that the kids were just way meaner to Joe and Koshiro for no reason in
Yep.
English. Like, to Joe and Izzy.
Mm.
Uh, where in Japanese, at least they all had their own money. And they were
Yep.
like, yeah, we were irresponsible. But they weren't directly harming Joe.
Yeah, because Joe could have still made his way home on the train.
Yeah, he could have made it with him on the train, or he could come in and eat with them. I mean, they ditched him, but they ditched him with Izzy. So whatever, okay.
Yep.
There are lots of worse things that could have happened. In this one, it's we ditched you, we used every bit of money we had, so now we have food and you don't.
Yep.
And they're just such terrible people. And they don't seem to notice. They don't even seem to recognize that what they did was wrong. And I don't know why you'd make that change. I don't, and you asked a really good question. Why would any one of them be holding the money when the two smartest people weren't?
Yeah, like I would have given it to Joe.
Yeah, he literally has a divine right to reliability.
Yep.
It's it's completely bananas. I can't believe it. Um, but the other changes, which really really toned down the sexual predator nature of the people of Tokyo, really I appreciated that.
So episode 31 starts with again Devimon's talking to Myodasmon, and in the Japanese version, he just straight out says that Mamon and Gesomon have both been killed. He doesn't say, that they've run away with their tails between their legs in pain, or they've been killed. They're dead. We've killed them. Garudamon killed Mamon. Ikakumon just straight up killed Gesomon.
Actually, given that this is the real world, they probably don't teleport and become eggs. They're probably actually dead,
Yeah.
which would be one of the very, very rare true fatalities.
Actually, I think that there is a pretty. It's either a theory or like a fact. I think it might be a
That's what
fact that
most things are,
if
theories or
if if
facts.
Digimon die in the real world, they're dead
Yeah, that makes
forever.
sense.
Because there's no way that they can get back to Primary Village.
There's no recycle bin. So is Primary Village only on Vile Island, or are there more of them?
Um, I think there might be more of them because we've seen it on different seasons of Digimon,
Okay, that would make sense.
or the sort of equivalent. Like there's a kindergarten, I think, in one series.
Alright, great. Good to establish. Very important. I would have asked a lot of questions later, but we've established it now.
Yep.
So, alright. So, then we cut to Tai walking along next to Koromon, and it occurs to me at this point that the reason I think some of the some of the Digimon had de-evolved earlier, like Koromon, for example, was because they were the ones that would be the hardest to hide otherwise.
Yep.
Like, Palmon got to stay as Palmon, right? But
Well, Palmon hasn't evolved to perfect or at at all really
I
in
know,
the real
like
world.
Palmon and Patamon and who's the was there another one who hasn't evolved yet and de-evolved since? I think
Um,
there's one.
but mummy, my point is that we haven't seen
That's
they
true, we
haven't
haven't.
evolved to perfect.
But I mean, like, because they all randomly digivolved to perfect before, now they're all much smaller. Like, you couldn't really explain a dinosaur,
Yeah, I mean it's
right?
convenient, but they all once they become perfect, they become they're in training level again.
My point was a discussion of that convenience.
Yeah,
Uh,
it is very convenient, but we do run into trouble later where they're not conveniently small.
yeah, because like if you had just had a dinosaur walking around, especially an Agumon the size of the one from the prequel, that'd be a problem.
Yeah, but it's Japan. Whatever.
It's fine in Japan. You cut to Koromon discussing, and he gets to the logical step that we've all been discussing for weeks,
Yep.
which is, huh, we all saw the Digimon and we became the chosen children. And, you know, 2 months ago I went home and Hikari remembered you.
Yeah.
Huh, maybe. Hmm, it might be her.
Maybe. Maybe. Not entirely sure, but maybe.
So we get a really nice like glimpse of all the kids going home, and I actually really appreciated that. Well, not
Yep.
all the kids, obviously. It was mostly Tai and Izzy, but still, it's a nice thing to see.
Yeah, and like we meet Hikari and Taichi's parents. We've only really heard them before, and
Hey, and Taichi's dad isn't drunk today.
yeah, he seems kind of sober. It's good. I mean, I like their parents. I think they've got the I really like all the kids' parents. Like they're all really nice parents.
Hmm. Actually, before Tai shows up, a cat dooms the universe.
What?
The cat, it finds the Digivice under Kari's bed
Oh yeah,
and
and then it knocks it
throws
off
it
the
off a
balcony.
balcony.
Yeah. So Taichi is very emotional when he sees his mum and dad and just hugs them and says, "Oh, mum or dad." And yeah, I think that's kind of cute. But he's also remember how he made fun of Mimi for forgetting that she'd only been away for a little while, and when she was like amazed to see her friends,
Yeah,
like he made fun of her in that episode, and now he's doing the exact same thing.
yeah, pretty much. And like, uh, what's it called? Yeah, he'd only just seen them the day before. Uh, yeah, what? I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, he sees his friends again, and he's really happy. Then did we cut to Izzy here, or
No,
is
it's
there
more
more?
like I think another, and we see another cat that gets the Digivice, and Miko, the Kamiya cat, is upset.
And
But yeah, but then we see Koshiro's parents, and his mum's talking to a friend, and she's just like, "Oh, you have such a good son. You're so lucky. My children are spoiled."
my children are terrible people. And her children sound like the worst, the absolute worst.
They just sound like normal kids to me.
No, they're screaming and they're hitting each other. Okay, actually, yeah, you know what? Your impression of normal kids is that.
Yeah, I mean, like I didn't have a brother or sister, but you grew up with an older sister.
I did. We're honestly not quite like that. Like it's bad. It's not that bad.
The woman that's on the phone, I noticed that she's calling Izzy Izzy, which is really weird because in the first episode, it's shown that Izzy's derived from his last name, which is Izumi, and his name is Koshiro Izumi, and Izzy is from Izumi. So the friend's mum is calling her kid, like her friend's kid, Izzy, even though she would also be Izumi because that's her last name. I just found that really weird.
Yeah, I guess her friend, the mom, would also be Izzy. I don't know. Like at that point, maybe it's a nickname that's widely used enough by everybody that they know.
Yeah.
But yeah, the kids sound really garbage, and I wanted them to stop being quite so garbage.
Then Izzy goes and they kept the line about that he's going to Taichi's house for a reference book, but in the dub they just add, "I'll be back in the nanosec to the end."
Because if he doesn't throw around a scientific random at all times, then who is this character?
Yeah, we don't know that he's Izzy without that. So then later on, there Tentomon and Koshiro are talking in his room because he's got this lock and he's attaching that to the door. And Tentomon says that he really likes his Izzy's mum, and Izzy's mum is really hot and really pretty.
Actually, it's a fairly good question of like, where did he get this lock from?
Well, I'm assuming when he said that he was going to get a reference book from Taichi, he really meant that he was going out to buy a lock.
Maybe.
Like that's what I got from that because it's a lie. He's not going out to get a reference book from Taichi, and we see later on when she's on the phone to Tai and she says, "Oh, thanks for lending Izzy your reference book," and he says, "What?"
So, you know what? Ty, get better at lying.
Like I guess you would expect that things are, a bit of a lie. Like that he should have just assumed that they might be lying to parents regarding the monster in your bedroom.
No, you'd never do that. You don't lie to your parents. That's crazy.
She comes in and she hears him talking to someone, and she says, "Oh, if you have a friend over, he can come to dinner." And then Koshiro just says, "No, no, 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 I'm practicing manzai," which is a type of like stand up where it needs a you need to put on someone with a Kansai dialect, which is why he chose this because as we've addressed before, that Tentomon talks with a Kansai dialect.
Yeah, there was a very wonderful explanatory like note in the episode we watched because otherwise I would have been completely lost.
Yeah,
Because I don't know what Manzai is, and except it's a weird kind of comedy. Um, and
it's
it
a straight man and a funny man with trading jokes at great speed.
only in a
It
what's
usually involves double talk and puns and stuff like that. And it's associated with the Osaka region, which is where the Kansai dialect comes from.
yeah. What does it change to in English again? Like
It's just a show that is just putting on with
I'm just
people.
doing comedy.
Yeah,
And in I believe in Japanese the parents are like, yeah, it's really interesting. You picked up a hobby. Yeah, but in
yeah,
English they're actually
supportive.
a lot more supportive. It's like, oh, you were actually hilarious.
But he wasn't. The thing is, he wasn't that funny in the English version. Like he actually has a decent joke in the Japanese version.
Yeah, it was fairly garbage
But
in
in English,
English, but
yeah.
I thought it was funny that
But
the
they're really
parents have bad
supportive
taste.
parents.
Yeah,
Like, but both like they might just be putting it on, and they don't want to say, "Oh, that was garbage" to their kid. They want to be supportive parents.
it's definitely possible.
I
Um,
think Koshiro is also funnier than Izzy. I don't think Izzy has a sense of humor.
that's because he's always saying like mathematical. I guess that's also an Adventure Time thing. But yeah, it's like that wouldn't be logical. I have a computer. My name's Izzy. That's what he sounds like.
Yep.
This
And
is
the prize of the comedy competition is to win a computer.
this is my sassy ladybug.
Also, so then he goes off, and in the original, Koshiro's mum is worried that he's hiding something from her. But in the dub, she's just saying, "Oh, did you hear him? He complimented me. I'm so proud of him." Like, I don't know why they had to change that. Like, it's fine to be worried that you're hiding something from your kid. And then we see, Big Blob that ate everything with the crest, and we see that Devimon has no the 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 Demi. I think it's Demi Devimon's crest is glowing, and it's reacting to
Yeah, Devil Ball's in a disco.
yeah to the Digivice that's going by in a truck that Miko has followed. And so what I'm getting from this is the crest doesn't react to the children; it reacts to the Digivice.
Yeah, I think that's fairly clear, and I think it's reasonably interesting that like what's his name? Basically Vampiremon did get it right. The things do work, but just not exactly how you think they do.
Yeah, and also it assumes that the Digivice is with the child. Which I mean, it was because we saw it at the end of Home Away from Home. It was on the table in Ty's house, like the eighth
It wasn't on the
Digivice was
table.
there.
It was in Oh, it was on the table in that episode because it was under her bed in this one.
No, it was on the table. Like we said, like the narrator says, "Oh, and it won't be too long until Hikari has her own adventure here." And it had like a close up on the Digivice on the table.
That's
So it's
super
just
weird.
like, why wouldn't they realize that?
Because they're kind of stupid, I guess.
I
Uh,
guess maybe Miko knocked it off the table again. I don't know.
I guess that's totally possible. You'd think she would have that Kari would have noticed.
Well, I mean, it was. I don't think it's been that long since he was there. Like it was probably like a matter of an hour or so.
Maybe.
Maybe longer because they were in the real world for a bit before he got home.
Hmm. It's possible.
Anyway, so Izzy is on his computer and he noticed that he's looking through the programs that Genai said that he installed in a few episodes ago. So we have Frigimon, Monzemon, and Numemon doing the can, and then we have Chumon exploding a balloon, and then we have a map of Tokyo that shows where Digimon are. One of these things is not like the other.
One of them is useful.
The others are funny, absurd, but funny. So he tries to ring his friends, but they're all asleep, and he's too polite to say, "Oh yes, let's wake them up." He just says, "Oh, don't disturb them."
I think he says like, that's okay. I'll tell them tomorrow."
Yeah, but he's able to manage it. Like it's only an adult Digimon.
Is it? Because
Yeah.
it like it's so weird. Like Gatomon is perfect.
No, Gatomon's adult.
Oh, okay, wait.
It
Right,
goes child, adult, perfect, ultimate,
right.
or champion. I mean, rookie, champion, ultimate, mega.
I believe you,
Yep.
though I can't really remember.
Ramon's definitely an adult level Digimon. So he leaves and he puts Tentomon in disguise, which is a hat and a hoodie. And then basically what happens is Ramon attacks, Kabuterimon fights, Ramon Pico Devimon shows up. The demi darts are edited out in the English version again. Ramon doesn't talk in the original, but just sort of growls. But in the dub, he like shouts his name, like the attack names and stuff.
Did you see
And
what Ramon's like attack is?
it's sludge.
No, it's hetero.
Oh
His
yeah.
attack is the heteros.
That means vomit in Japanese, I believe.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Well, actually, Ramon's based on a kaiju that was in a Godzilla movie.
Really?
Yeah, it's called Hedora, which is derived from hetero, which means sludge or vomit or ooze or something gross. And actually, there are quite a few Digimon who are based on kaiju. So in the version 5 VPET,
Yeah.
there are quite a lot of references to kaiju movies. That's why I bought it, not just because of my collection. So good to have it. Um, so this was in a thread from a while ago. TMS on With the Will said that Dark Tyrannomon is Godzilla, Cyclomon is Gigan, Devidramon is Destroyer, Tuskmon is Space Godzilla, Flymon is Mothra, Deltamon is King Ghidorah, and Raремon is Hedora, and Metal Tyrannomon is Mecha Godzilla. So yeah, I just found that really interesting.
It's entirely possible.
Like, I mean, I also really like the version 5. It's probably my favorite. But yeah, so Hedora, I mean, Hedora is vomit.
Um,
So basically, he vomits. That's his attack.
Actually, have we covered that Izzy heard his parents say that he's adopted?
Oh yeah, we missed that. Oops.
So there was an earlier thing in way earlier in the season when we saw the earlier bit
It
of
was
this.
the Tentomon evolves to Kabuterimon episode.
Yeah,
Kabuterimon's electroshocker.
and he's like, we have to tell him someday, but they don't say what it is. And my thought about it was that, oh, he's probably adopted. But I'm happy to be vindicated that
Yeah,
I was correct the whole time.
yeah, but he's super adopted.
He's not just adopted, he's super adopted.
But yeah, it's kind of sad.
It's not.
I know, like I mean,
Adoption
he's sad
isn't
about it.
sad.
No, he's sad about it. I think I think he's confused about it.
He's probably, yeah, it's understandable for him to be confused. But like,
But he loves his parents no matter what.
it must be like a late 90s, early 2000s thing, but I think that modern times have begun to understand that like adoption is not a sad thing. It
Yeah.
is a good thing that you have, taken care of this child.
At this point, Myotismon realizes how strong the children are, and he decides, that he should face them himself, finally. Which is whenever the big bad says that, we know that it's too late.
Yeah, basically, if you don't think it through in advance,
So
probably
basically, if you ever want to murder a group of children, don't hesitate, just do it.
take our advice if you ever want to murder children.
When he gets back, Koshiro gets Tentomon something to eat, and he hears his parents talking. And his mum wants to act like other kids to be spoiled and unreasonable. And in the dub, they just say that we need to give Izzy more freedom to be his own man, and that making mistakes is something he needs to do as a kid.
And while he's away, have we mentioned that they try to get into his room?
Oh yeah, yeah. They realize it's locked, so they're
And
wondering what they're hiding from him. At the end of the episode, we see that the crow has the Digivice, and the Taichi's Digivice starts reacting. He's like, "Oh, the eighth child, he's here!" And he runs out the door. And then he kind of goes, "Oh, yeah, it's a shooting star." And she watches, the Digivice in the sky go past.
and we watch Ty be a huge, huge idiot because if you look at the Digivice, there's him in the middle, red dot, and there's very fast moving red dots straight over him.
Yeah, over his house.
So there are two ways of looking at this because obviously there's no Z axis, so it could be below him. But even if it was below him, he would be
Mm-hmm.
able to just look down and see there's nothing down there. Look up. Hey, look, a light. But no, he instantly runs away. So there's not a chance that he can catch it. None.
Yeah.
Not, so yeah, and then the episode is over.
What do you think of this episode as someone who is new to Digimon?
Oh, this episode was so boring. Like the only interesting thing going on was, Izzy's family, I guess. But the rest of the episode, oh, look, a cat has knocked it away. Look, another cat's there. Now there's a dog. And oh, now there's a crow. Like the weird, like animal menagerie of like things that are obsessed with the Digivice for no reason is so boring. And it's another situation of it you can feel it because there's no narrative point to this. If he walks into the house, goes, "Have you seen one of these before?" She goes, "Oh yeah, I have one under my bed," and it's right there. As of yet, I have seen no reason why that should exist, why this episode needs to get complicated.
This episode, I guess, is needed because Koshiro realizes that the eighth child is, well, he thinks that it's because the eighth child is in Odaiba because his Digivice reacted to it, and that's what they were looking for. And I guess he's right anyway, but
But that's not
he doesn't know that.
necessary, right? The what's necessary is just to find the eighth child, and you could have established that right now. Now, maybe if later on it plays a big part in it because the Digivice is taken by something, but my guess at this stage, is they just stumble upon it, or maybe the bad guys, yeah, probably the bad guys do, and like how he found the child. Oh, it's just the Digivice, maybe. But yeah, I can't believe that the fake tags work actually. Because it's this weird moment where Myotismon is like, okay, they definitely work. And that's his stance. His stance is that these things definitely work, they'll detect the child. But you can't test it all. So my presumption was that they definitely don't work. But they do detect the Digivice. But he couldn't have known that.
Well, I don't think they would work to evolve a Digimon. I think they only work to react to a
Yeah,
Digivice.
but he couldn't have tested that ever, because obviously the eighth child isn't around. But at the same time, there's no but if he designed them to detect the child, then how could he ever know it would just detect the Digivice? It's really confusing.
Yeah. So, what differences did you notice, and do you think they were justified?
I will tell the audience. I will raise the curtain slightly and tell the audience what I told you. I have two lines of notes in my English version of this episode because almost nothing changed. The biggest difference was between Manzai and like regular comedy,
And also,
and
Tentamon finding his mum hot was not referenced in the original.
yeah, I guess
He
so.
did not say, "Your mum's really pretty, your mum's really good at cooking, your mum's great, I love your mum."
And close up behind that as a legitimate thing, but it's so minor, is that Izzy's parents react slightly differently. Where in Japanese, his mom kind of obsesses over the fact that he said thank you. It's really weird. Like, why would he be so direct about it? And so she thinks something's up. Whereas in English, for like half the episode, they're like, "Oh, he's really nice. They're like, what a good boy. We're really happy that he's developed like this." And then right at the end, they're like, "Oh, maybe he's not telling us everything." Um,
Yeah, like him being polite's definitely met with more suspicion in the original.
I never actually understood like the stance the mom has of like, I can't, I can't believe, I, I, I can't believe he's so appreciative, or I can't believe that he's like he hugged me or whatever. Actually, that was Ty's mom, I think. But she seems surprised that the kid that they adopted shows affection at all, which is weird because A, they haven't told him, and B, they've probably taken care of him his entire life.
Yeah.
Unless his parents were killed in the Karigaoka terrorist attack, and he was actually adopted like 2 years ago, but he doesn't remember because his memory was wiped.
Maybe.
That is a slightly darker theory, honestly. But yeah, so that's how that goes.
So, which episode did you like
Oh,
more?
the first one by a
Oh yeah,
mile,
I
because
agree.
the second one had nothing going on except slight like Koushiro background, but it wasn't interesting enough to hold up a whole episode. And while like I guess the action, so to speak, in
Yep.
episode one, like when you had your obligatory monster fight, at least there were people around to kind of have fun with it. But in your obligatory monster fight in this one, which was like half the episode, was like, look at slime being attacked by slime. Then I fight the slime. Now the slime is gone. Nothing is achieved.
Out of the Digimon that were introduced in this episode, Agessomon and Raemon, what do you think about them?
Guess the one's really cool. It's got a like really metal look to it, and I don't know. Ramon is. I'm glad that he's rare because he's ugly and not
Oh,
interesting
that's
at all.
mean. I feel sorry for Raemon.
Now get
But
super wrecked, you sludge pile.
to be honest, I liked him more after I found out that he was based on a kaiju from Godzilla movies because I'm getting kind of into Godzilla movies and kaiju movies at the moment.
I actually think, yeah, he does sound. He does kind of look familiar. Like I think I've seen pictures of what he's based on. Yeah, I've seen Muck. It's a Pokemon. It's fine. It's better. It's better designed. It's got a cool face
Actually, I think Raemon's better designed
than Muck.
on the because it looks more like the kaiju.
I guess maybe.
Yeah, and I think that's why he looks that way because and especially if you see his sprite in the Digimon V Pet, he looks like he looks a lot like Hedora. He looks like a bit like a ghost though.
Because he looks like he's in like a sheet.
Yeah, but he looks a lot like that image on the Godzilla wiki page of Hedora.
Alright, everyone, join us next time on Mawaru Penguin Drum. Gatomon comes calling.
Or Tokyo Tower is hot. Death Meramon.
Really? Okay. And out on the town.
Or Pumpin Gotsu, a Shibuya type Digimon.
Did you say a Shibuya type Digimon?
Yes, our Shibuya type Digimon.
What does that mean?
Well, Shibuya is a place
I
where
got
you
that.
go shopping.
But what's a Shibuya type?
Well, if something's like like a virus type Digimon, they're virus type. If someone's a water type Digimon, they're water type. If someone's a dragon type Digimon, they're dragon type. These are Shibuya type Digimon.
That just still makes no sense.
They're hip for the kids.
Okay.
See you guys next week. Bye bye.
See you, everybody.